Hey, I wanted to check out this video right quick again, and I'm gonna grab some coffee, and we're probably just gonna dive right into it. But I want to hear this one more time. I'll be right back. Hey y'all. Hey y'all. We got a world explorer up in the building. See you out there. Legend up in the building. I thought I'd play that song. I just found it right now. Shoot, you can check it out. Sometimes I do this and you can find it's crazy. If you type in cover song and then especially a particular music artist, and then you search for uploads in the week, you filter it out for the week, and then you get you get a lot of hidden treasures, I guess you'd say. This one, the one we just listened to, in the whole world, it has 16 views. So basically nobody's ever heard of this, right? And I thought it was pretty interesting. It's pretty good. I thought it was pretty good, you know what I'm saying? I thought it was world class, to be honest, and I just found it maybe like 10 seconds before we started this broadcast. Because I was thinking, man, I'd like to start off with a song, plus I gotta grab some coffee. And so that's what I did. I planned it out. I guess I planned out today's broadcast a little bit, y'all. I mean, I kind of know where we're going. There's two main themes, I guess, that we're going to go over probably and stuff. And of course, we're going to hear what's really popping in the streets from a lot of our affiliates out there and our boots on the ground all around the world. It could be a flat world, could be a dome world, or it could be an Illuminati pyramid. Right, we might get down to the bottom of it before long. But yeah, two main topics. I just want to throw them out there. Shoot, I didn't get it that much situated, but here I can show you. Let's see, we got Chrome, right? Definitely one thing that we're gonna get into, and I discussed it before, but I wanted to also make a video dedicated to it and showcasing it the best I can, and stuff kind of, it's getting there and it's going to be made, the video eventually in time. But right now I did want to make a shout out to it and a mentions to it because it is very important. I think it's extremely crucial. And actually we're going to talk about it probably on the latter half of this broadcast, all right? So I want to build your suspense. I want you thinking about it. If you haven't seen this before, it's the man Merica. Here's the thing. He's a legend, and he's one of those legends. We just heard a world-class singer right now, probably, and stuff. She's singing and stuff, and probably no one will ever hear it. Right? It's kind of weird to think about it in that sense, but sometimes, like, you just don't hear it until you do, and then everybody hears it. There is that potential. And anyways, like I was saying about Merica, for those of y'all who know him out there and subscribe to him, you better be subscribed to him. The thing is, he's a legend on the bushes of Tasmania, and just doing it how it should be done. It's a long, lonely road for a cowboy, you know what I mean, out there. I think a lot of people know what I mean. And we're going to talk about that, actually. We're going to talk about that at great length throughout this broadcast tonight, I think. We're going to have to get it. We're gonna have to get it about as hard as we can, I got on a little bit later than I wanted to, all right, but it happens sometimes. So we're gonna do it harder and faster, all right. But there's a couple things that I wanted to talk about, and this one's gonna be in the latter half, and it's very serious. All right, it's a theme. Obviously, it's a constant running theme here on this channel, but it's something worth reading. It's something worth meditating on. I think, and applying to, the rest of the world around us. All right, so we're gonna get to it as far as certain things like self-defense and certain things like total calamity and absolute chaos, and moments in which you could probably want a gun or something like that. We're going to talk about those sort of things, but we also have different other important things to talk about. And I want to get a visual, I guess, set up for y'all, but I wanted to, I was going over some articles and different various things about what I want to talk about. I was going over them earlier, and I saw a number of them, and I wonder if I can get them back, like if I were to Google them. I might be able to Google some right now, especially one article in particular, and it was dealing with Japan. Right, and I'm not sure exactly what's the keywords if I wanted to find it. I don't know if I bookmarked it. Maybe I did. Might as well go check. All this technology, it's not over my head, but it's almost over my head. I have to admit. Sometimes it gets overwhelming and stuff. Let me see if I got it bookmarked. About this Japan thing that I was reading only earlier. The thing is, the article, I think it has a lot to do. It's very different. Japan is very different from America. Let's see. Now, we don't have it, but we might be able to find it. If we go on to Google and we Google it real hard, I think we'll be able to find it, because they were telling me earlier about Japan, and just in certain parts of Japan, and they were having like these seminars, I guess you'd say, or get-togethers, large public gatherings, in which people are trying to get married. And we've had similar things like that in America, but the way that they were describing it was, it's kind of peculiar. Let's see, Japan, marriage. Maybe marriage decline. If we put that up, maybe, because see, here's the thing. While we're looking it up, I'll go ahead and tell you. The article was talking about Japan, and okay, there you go, decline of marriage in Japan. Uh, like, I guess it's a popular thing. As fewer, see, we're gonna see if we can find that article from today. We're gonna look in the news, but it says right here, when you put it into Google, the decline of marriage in Japan as fewer people marry and do so later in life is a widely cited explanation for the plummeting birth rate. In addition, an estimated 3.5 million Japanese children, 1 in 6 of those below the age of 18, are from households classed as experiencing relative poverty. All right, that might sound bad to some of y'all. By the OECD. But then again, how much poverty is going on around here? It's debatable. I guess you would say. I guess you would say. And the thing is, I want to find the article that I was reading earlier. Kind of. We might not even have to, but it was kind of interesting. This one says, "Racing with marriage, a peculiar trend of modern Japan." That could have been it, but I don't think it was. Affluent single Chinese women seek sperm donors at overseas banks. It's interesting that we're looking at these things, actually, because I also came across an article, and I swear, I don't know if we'll be able to find it, but, I think y'all believe me out there. I saw an article, and it's talking about Chinese ladies in particular getting cyber boyfriends. And shoot, if I knew how to work my fingers so fast, we'd go ahead and check it out. These cyber boyfriends, or whatever, they call them on the phone or whatever, they're texting them, and they pay them money. And it's a service that's being given out, like the cyber boyfriends. And you can get employed and be a cyber boyfriend. And basically, you had to pay some attention to a lady or whatever, just through phone conversations or just through texting, maybe. It depends on what you're paying. I swear, man, it's news to me. I know my some bizarre to some of y'all, but it does happen out there. And it is kind of just like the way it would naturally go, I guess you would say, as the envelope gets pushed. I mean, way back in the day, and even still today, I'm sure you have people, weirdo, man, they'll be calling up these hotlines, these 1-800 hotlines, and like talking dirty or something to some ladies, and they're talking dirty back, and it's like this whole phone interaction type thing. But they were describing in China how it's a boyfriend type thing. It's like a relationship, like they want some attention. It's like, damn, dude, they're so starved for attention that is they're so starved for attention. It's amazing, or whatever. I guess in that particular, see, China's a very big place. You'd probably be talking about more affluent type Chinese ladies who, for some reason, they can't find marriage either. But we were talking about Japan, right? And no, this thing is all connected. It's like a one big problem all over the world. It's not exactly separate in and of themselves. It's not happening in a vacuum necessarily, right? So all these things while we build up to America, because we're going to talk about America, right? That's what we're here to talk about, not necessarily Asia. I've never been there. Shirley Barfine has been on every inch of Asia that's possible, but I've never been there. I've never been outside the country. But I could tell you, I'm looking at these articles. They're experiencing something I think that we're experiencing quite harshly, I guess you would say. Definitely a lot like them, right? It's very similar. I wanted to talk about that. The thing is, I don't know if I'll be able to find millennials miss their own boom times. Listen, y'all, I don't even think this was the right one. This is some sort of blog. All right, it's not the right article, and I don't want to put it in the news because it's some sort of blog racing with marriage, blah blah blah. Anyways, Japanese people, I guess, suffice it to say, they're racing to get married, or they're trying to get married. They're desperately trying to get married. And I was seeing this article earlier. Let's see if I can find it. It's like, dang, dude, how do we not find it? Dating party or something. What if we put dating party? Because that's kind of what it was. It was like a public gathering and stuff, and it was interesting. Hopefully we can find the article, but if we don't, I can tell you that the article said that in these parties, oh, there you go. It's exactly what it was. And that's what caught my eye. All right, we caught it. All right. We just had to try a little bit harder, but here it is. Why Japan's parasite singles are refusing to get married. And I was like, what? I was like, what is that? A parasite single? I never heard that term before. I don't know about y'all. I don't know if that's very popular of a term because they say it like it's just a daily, you know what I'm saying? It's like common nomenclature. But the thing is, I never heard of it. I got interested in it. I was like, hey, what the heck is they talking about? What's a parasite single? And I wanted to find it out. And really, honestly, it's kind of a demeaning term, I guess you'd say. It's not healthy, certainly, but they were describing how a lot of Japanese millennials and so forth, they don't be getting married, right? Like they just be staying with their parents, and that's why they call them parasites, right? It's a little bit vulgar, but I guess I can see where they're going with that. They call it parasite singles and stuff. They might be living with their parents up into their 30s. And maybe sometimes even beyond, or maybe not even beyond. The thing is, they have people of all sort of ages. I know that in this article, if you were to read it, it says something like they had some dude who's like 40 something years old there with his father, and his father is going. See, that's the thing. It's ran by the parents of these single people, no matter how old they are. And it really doesn't matter. Like they're desperate to get their children married because they realize that they don't want their children living with them at old age. It doesn't make sense. And sometimes they realize the hard way, but at this point, they're like, dude, desperately trying to get this person married and stuff, get them out of there or something. Or just maybe get some grandbabies, or who knows what's their agenda. I'm sure they got a lot of agendas, but it's something serious. And that's the thing, it's very common, a little bit different than in America. It was very common over there in Japan for the parents to lead, I guess, in the finding of a compatible partner. Like they were in charge of it. It wasn't you. It's your parents who they're going to decide. Hey, this lady down the street, like a couple million people away. This particular lady, yeah, you're gonna go ahead and we arranged it already. It's just gonna happen. Stuff. Just let it happen. Just let it happen. And that's part of the culture. And the thing is, I'm not gonna say that that's wrong necessarily. I'm not gonna go out on the limb and say it's wrong. All right, it's definitely a different type of culture than in America. I think a lot of people would already understand it. It's not like that at all necessarily. In fact, a lot of people people have very interesting relationships with their parents. I noticed that. And out of anything, I would have to stress that that's pretty dang crucial. Right? And a lot of them are, they're very intense, and some are in tatters, and some, like, what I'm saying, are very narcissistic. I used to say there's a lot of weird, twisted relationships out there, and we don't want to get too much into the black pill mode. But the thing is, okay, all right, Japan, right? They're having a certain problem where people ain't getting married. In this article, just to sum it up, because we don't have time to read it, we're going to go ahead and run through a few other things. They're talking about the economy, right? And they were talking about how, people, technically speaking, had like less frequent jobs, less steady jobs, less definite steady employment. So the economy in that regard was a little bit iffy as compared to recent yesteryears, right? In which people were getting money and the economy was kind of like everybody's trying to get money, and that was the whole thing, right? And in this particular time, they were making note that certain uh, job that you had in Japan back in the day, it's not there no more necessarily. Somehow they got their job shift off overseas or something. Who's to say? But all right, they don't have jobs like they used to, right? According to the article. And not only that, it also mentioned, I'm sure it's kind of the case maybe in China as well, but it also mentioned how women were earning a lot more than, or not a lot more than men, but more than men, right? To a significant amount, that it was significant, right? So they talked about it. And in the article, when you read it, it says something like that the ladies, they're feeling intimidated, I guess you would say. I did not mean to click on that. But they're feeling intimidated in the whole dating scene, as it were, because they happen to make more money typically than the men do, right? And the article is actually explaining how, like, they need to get over that, and the women just need to get over that, and they need to just settle. They need to realize that they make more money than this dude, but they need to make it work somehow. Anyways, because they need to get married. They have a biological clock, and it is ticking very hard. And the thing is, it really does dictate everything about them. And I know that that's very crude. That's a brash thing to say, but we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that right now. All right, we might as well make a thing of it for today and stuff. Kind of make it a theme. All right, we're talking about the end of America. Technically, I've never been to Japan. Like, I can only assume what's going on in Japan. All right. But yeah, they were talking about this, right? And that's kind of very similar. I gotta know. The thing is, I don't know if y'all heard this, and I'm sure you have. Feminist type people that people used to talk about a couple years ago, right? They kept saying stuff about like, oh, pay gap, this and that. Men earn more than ladies, and it's unfair, and blah blah blah. And they still talk about it in Hollywood. And they're like, oh man, these people are getting paid more because they're men. They have whiners, and we're just ladies, and they don't give us no money. And it's like, this is so stupid because, like, in my personal life, I gotta say from personal experience, typically speaking, a woman's gonna make more money than a man. That's what I've seen. And that honestly was not the case probably in previous generations. I wanna stress that for a second. But it's not so much like, as far as pay gap, forget it, dude. Okay, mostly the women out here are getting that money, especially when you're talking about lower middle class or upper lower class. Right, they're getting enough money to have their own things and stuff like that on a more frequent basis than men in their particular fields. Typically, right? There's a whole bunch of things that we go over. At a certain point, when you start getting real money, like say contractor money, or maybe you work in an office, and maybe you're like a consultant or some stuff, and like maybe you do something that's a trade, that's like a skill and stuff like that. You really start making money then at that point. Before then, you got stuff like that's just like little jobs and stuff that you do at like fast food restaurants or this and that. Just little places where you get like the bare minimum pay, right? In the bare minimum pay world, in the whole service world, when you answer phones and stuff for a living and you do this and that, which people do, most people do. Most people do these service jobs and stuff like that. If you notice, that's the way the economy's going, right? So ladies will tend to actually make more than the dudes, typically. When you're talking about waitresses and everything in the service economy, typically they do. All right, that's just natural, and if they don't, they're bad at what they do. Thing is, they're making more money, typically, right? Until that certain point. And at that point, that's when they're talking about, oh, these men, they make all that money. Yeah, but they also work in intense jobs, you know what I'm saying, that are very meticulous. You really need to know what the hell you're doing up in their jobs, technically, as men, all right? So anyways, I was talking about trends. Shout out to the person in the room. I see you out there. All right, let yourself be known. All right, I'll be looking for you. But we're talking about Japanese people, and we're going to relate it to America. In case you missed the whole beginning, of course you can catch it on the recording. And I appreciate you. But we're talking about these Japanese people, and they were talking about in this article, right? That the women were making more than the men, and that, amongst other things, was the reason why Japanese people find it hard to get married. That and their economy is kind of drying up, and the jobs ain't there like they used to be, right? So people are finding it hard to get married, and some of these millennials be staying with their parents, and they call them. Let's see the headline. They call them parasite singles, right? And they're busy. These parents are really trying to get their children married, right? For sure. Like they're making a thing about it. They're going to these public organizations and getting it done. America is on a similar path because technically, in lots of places, especially big cities, that economy works just the same. You'll be noticed that's a trend. Women are going to make more than men. Period. Typically, when you're talking about the same similar jobs, and if they're working the same hours, at the same time, it is what it is, and it's been said years ago, and it's still true today, is that men typically work harder and they'll work more hours, typically. As a lifestyle choice, they'll just choose to do it. And so in the end, they'll make more money, typically. But that's if they do have their stuff together as far as, their career is concerned, or maybe their manhood is concerned. The thing is, that is a big thing of what we want to talk about tonight. And before we get into it too much, and I said it before, I've been down a long road. There's a journey to get here, right? To this, what you're seeing right here, this, you know what I'm saying? But at certain points, for the majority of my life, all leading up to about, into my 30s, you know, I was living as a beta male, and I gotta admit it, dude. And this is why I'm talking about it. It's not to say, oh, I'm gonna call out beta males and I'm just gonna ridicule them and shame them. I am gonna shame them. I'm not gonna bully them, but they're gonna be like, oh, you're bullying them. You don't care about these. It's like, yeah, I do care about them because I was that. I am that person we're talking about right now. Shout out to the two people up in the building I see. Let yourself be known out there. Thing is, that is kind of why I talk about it, because at a certain point, I didn't have no idea what the hell I was doing, right? To sum it up, I think some of y'all have been in those shoes before as well. Didn't know what I was doing and just doing everything all wrong, right? In retrospect, I look at things and I'm like, dude, what the hell? What was I even thinking? And then you realize, well, you just didn't know better, probably. It's the conclusion you come up with. And eventually you might forgive yourself for all the dumb things you did. And then you might notice other people doing dumb things around you. And you might notice dumb things becoming a trend and stuff like that. And that's actually the new norm, is to do dumb things. And then you speak out against it. It's like, okay, well, that's the new norm. It's the majority. Yeah, they do dumb things. All right, but you still speak out against it because it seems dangerous. It seems actually disastrous. And that's what I'm here to talk about, I guess, tonight. All right. It's the end of America. I don't know if you've seen the title of the broadcast. I don't know if that's what reeled you in. Let it be known up in the comments. I'm going to keep an eye on him. We got Barfun up in the building. And, he's all sort of in Asia, right? He's probably been to Japan. He's probably in Japan right now, checking out some parasite singles. All right, but I want to talk about that right there. I want to talk about the fact is that I was a beta male when I talk down, or what it seems like I'm talking down, when I'm putting shame all over beta males, it's because they need shame all over them. All right, I think it'll help them out. It's going to always be it's going to be a consistent supply of beta males coming off the factory lines. And so, we kind of got to help them out unless we want them to continue to be beta males. And by not giving them help and giving them some advice and stuff like that, right? So before we dive into it a little bit, I'm not sure what kind of visuals to look at. I guess we could even type in like American birth decline, and that's kind of a main topic of tonight. America birth decline. And I'm sure all sort of dang articles gonna come into play. In case if you didn't know, I'm guessing that you do, is America, we have a problem on our hands, and it's a lot like Japan, it's a lot like China, it's a lot like every country around the world, except for certain countries in which the birth rate is absolutely exploding. All right, it makes you wonder why about it. But anyways, U.S. birth rate drops fourth year in a row, possibly echoing the Great Recession. It's not even possible. It's definite. I don't want to say it's definite, but it absolutely is probable, right? And we're going to talk about the numbers and the statistics, and we're actually going to talk about it in a very simple way because, you know what I'm saying? I got a simple brain, and that's how it's going to get done. Right, but even then, he's gonna see the trend, right? And I think you already see it, but we're gonna talk about it and reassure ourselves that yeah, indeed, it is the trend. All right. So this has been a thing for a while, the birth rate dropping, and what I gotta assure people in a simple way is that your country is gonna fall apart, right? Any country, it doesn't matter if your birth rate is gonna decline. At a certain point, there's a breaking point in which you don't even have enough people. It's not gonna work out for y'all. Period. There's no way. There's no other way around it. You might think, well, how is that? It's kind of like if you think about simple numbers and statistics. All right. If you don't, you need a certain amount of people in order to take care of your old people because your old people are getting old and stuff like that. They need like extra attention. I think everybody knows that about the elderly. They even called a different word altogether. We call them the elderly. We're like, oh man, these certain people, man, they need some sort of attention. They do. In your society, you need enough. Here's the thing, you need to, and I think you know it already, but you need enough people coming off the factory lines in order to be able to take care of the old people, or else you don't even have enough people to take care of the old people. What does that mean? The old people kind of fall apart. They need that attention, and so they're going to fall apart, and they're going to, at earlier and earlier ages, in a more and more grotesque way. And they're not going to be getting no assistance, right? So those old people that back in the day, not too long ago, they were helping you take care of your children. Back when back in the day when people were having lots of children, the birth rate was booming. Saying the boomer, you know how they call them all boomers. Saying that they were having tons of babies, dude. And so, okay, you had old people and they helped you, right? For some reason you made it work. Like the economy, for some reason it worked out to where like grandparents were around and they would help watch the children and this and that. It creates strong, sturdy families just by the numbers alone. So you got a declining birth rate and you don't know what it means exactly. What it means is, okay, your old people are going to start falling apart, and guess what? Your young people are going to start falling apart because they don't have that stable structure. Yeah, everybody's getting divorced, basically. I mean, dude, that's the norm. Is that everybody's getting divorced, and they don't have nothing stable. The old people ain't there, and they're getting all super not. I mean, here's the thing: it's not so bad right now. And I imagine in certain situations, I'm sure there's all sort of anecdotal evidence that it is pretty bad. But statistically speaking, it's not as bad as it could be, especially if we keep going down this road. And believe we are. That's the thing about it. From what I've seen, it looks like we are going to continue down that road, down this declining birth rate. And I want to explain why. The thing is, I don't exactly have a visual up, but I wanted to talk about it a little bit. I don't know if we could... I don't know if we could Google something. We're talking about the birth rate, okay? And we're talking about how it's declining, breakdown of society, stuff like that. I don't know what kind of visual I might want to put up, but here's the thing. Without being alarmist, that's the thing. Simple numbers would suggest that things are going to fall apart. You lose social bonds. There's no stable family. Everybody's going to get, see, like, for example, every kid out there I ask, their school's filled up with transgenders, all right? That was not even the case at all, anyway, not too long ago, right? So things are going to get a little bit wild, out of control, stuff like that, and maybe violent and stuff, and very demeaning, and perhaps, I don't know, kind of lowbrow. I don't know what we're getting at. But the thing is, all right, you got the declining birth rate, and that is what it is. All right, as far as statistics, we might not be able to change that at all. I wanted to discuss a little bit, like, for example, a lot of people already know these terms, but I noticed that out in the 3D world, not a lot of people know about what's called MGTOW. And the thing is, I was kind of twiddling my thumbs right before this broadcast, and I spent a little bit too much time. I was actually listening to a live stream, And I believe the guy's name is Donovan Sharp, and that's with an E on the end. If you wanted to find him on YouTube, he's kind of he's not a MGTOW. He's what we call a red pill. And now we're getting into the terminology that you either know or you don't know, and you really do know what the heck's going on, or you don't. When I'm saying red pill, MGTOW, and stuff like that, holler if you hear me out there. If you've heard of this, or if you never heard of this before. And let me know if you're out there and stuff, who's watching, who's up in the building. Safety first, as I always say, and then teamwork. Okay, so we're talking about MGTOW, and man, just to be real brief, just to be not too long-winded, I want to be articulate about it. The thing is, MGTOW stands for men going their own way. Might as well talk about that right now. Men going their own way. If you never heard of it, and it's not to say that they go gay or anything. It's just that a lot of men, maybe it's the hard way, or maybe it's not even the hard way. Some men learn the easy way, but a lot of men, they realize, oh man, they got screwed over in whatever different variation, and a lot of people very severely, and a lot of people very severely economically, which can control a lot of people, their livelihoods and stuff like that. Anyways, so for many different various reasons in America, just like probably in Japan, just probably in China, even though China's a lot worse. I mean, everybody should know that China's a lot worse when it comes to everything. I mean, literally, they aborted all sort of like female babies just because they were females and stuff, having this one child policy, and now that got them into a world of hurt at that point, because now they're having to call dudes up on the phone and have cyber boyfriends and stuff like that. It's really weird. Holler if you hear me. Man, I wonder, I would hope that there is audio. I would hope that people could actually hear the words that are coming out of my mouth right now. In fact, I might ask one of y'all for confirmation and stuff. So it get me to think twice. I wonder if people would be watching this even without no audio. It's getting me to doubt myself. I guess we're just going to keep going, but y'all, it's getting me to doubt myself just a little bit. All right, we're talking about the decline, though, of the birth rate. We're talking about MGTOW, which we were just on. Oops. Hey, y'all, here's the thing. Oh, man. I want to discuss this. We're going to go a little bit farther down the line, but I do need to hear confirmation that y'all can hear me. Let me see if I can take this out. The reason is because I could get some stuff done right now, but what I wanted to go into, honestly, was, okay, the whole MGTOW thing, that's a big trend. The birth decline, then that's another trend. The MGTOW, the red pill, the birth decline, those are going to coincide. Those are currently coinciding. A lot of men who have any sort of sense, young men out there, they're finding out because they heard of the internet. All right, they're finding out about going their own way, if you will, and that's why it's called MGTOW. There's different various ways to do it, I guess, but they put it under one umbrella. All right, we're gonna discuss those things, and actually, I'm gonna jump back on. I'm gonna get off right now, and then jump right back on to make sure there's audio on this mug, and we're gonna discuss. I guess it's gonna be 2 recordings, but we're gonna discuss how MGTOW relates with that, how the trends look for that, and the destruction or the destructive nature that would have on America in particular, and how that is pretty much gonna, in a sense, gonna be disastrous. But I also want to talk about solutions on a hypothetical basis and stuff with y'all on the other side. But I'm gonna get off of here and then I'm gonna come back on. Hold on one second.